Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems and welcome back to MX Simulator, where today we're going to be reviewing the 2021 Daytona Supercross track, the real life Supercross, I should say, not the track, from this past weekend. Well, we're going to play the Daytona Supercross track that was built in sim anyway, so I guess in a sense we're reviewing the track by playing it, but we're going to talk about the real Daytona Supercross. That's the point of this video. Normally I do these race review, race recap videos in Monster Energy Supercross, but as these stadiums are not very big in that game, it's really just... you just don't really build very good Daytonas. You can kind of make the diagonal Daytona across the large rectangular stadium in those games, but you end up missing a lot of sections. So I figured, I mean, hey, we already raced it in sim. We're a week ahead now, so we're going to be racing Arlington 1 this week. But yeah, I'll just play Daytona in sim. So I'll apologize in advance that the gameplay here is not going to be great. I'm not that good at sim anymore. I used to be very good, but now I'm not. So gameplay may not be the best, but the point of this video is essentially to kind of review the Daytona Supercross from the weekend, talk about some of the key points, and maybe have some lovely discussion in the chat below. So the gameplay is just kind of the footage that really goes on top of that, essentially. So let's talk about this Daytona Supercross from the weekend. The midway point of the championship, round 9 of the Monster Energy Supercross season. And boy, was it interesting. It provided maybe one of the more interesting kind of turning points of the season that we've had so far. And we'll get into that. But obviously kind of the big moment was Eli Tomac becoming the second ever 5-time Daytona Supercross winner, matching Ricky Carmichael. And it was also Eli Tomac's second win of the season to maybe right the ship. We'll talk about that as well. But yeah, crazy night of racing. So let's jump into it. The 450 class, the main event started out, and you got Ken Roxcen grabbing the hole shot, and immediately Cooper Webb in the second corner runs him high into this berm. So he goes inside in the first corner. He's a little bit behind Kenny, and into the second corner. The corners came up a little bit faster, but he runs him to the top of the berm, where kind of the fast line was to go to the inside and use... Ooh, gonna get this wrong a little bit. Use the rut on the inside to go into the next corner and either go inside or outside, because it was so far to the outside in the next corner. So Kenny, I mean, Webb controls the inside there, so Kenny can only do so much there. I guess he could brake super hard and cut back underneath if Webb's going to go all the way to the top of the berm, but Webb controlled from the inside and just ran him to the top of the berm. And in the end, it cost both of them the race lead. I mean, if Cooper Webb just tucks in right there and goes to the inside right behind Kenny on the first lap of the race, he comes out as the race leader. Roxcen, if he could have somehow got to the inside rut first and not gotten plowed by Webb, also comes out as the race leader. But instead, sneaking down the inside from what would have been like a, I don't know, maybe like a 4th place start at best, was Eli Tomac. And I'll talk about that in my race examination video this week on Racer X. But yeah, Tomac did a little bit get lucky in that first turn, and he mentioned in the post-race press conference that his goal was basically just to be second in line coming down on the inside. And technically speaking, he was third in line. He was behind Coop and Kenny, but did take advantage of their little squabble, and Coop took Kenny high, and Eli just went right up the inside and took the race lead, and pretty much from that point never looked back. But we'll get to that in a second. So this Coop-Kenny thing, a lot of people were talking about it. A lot of people are saying, like, you know, it really just depends on what side of the fence you are. I feel like Roxcen fans, most of them are being pretty reasonable about it and saying, like, it's whatever, it's racing. But some of them are definitely, like, taking it maybe a little bit extreme. I've seen even to the point where people say that Webb should have been penalized for that move, which I don't agree with at all. And, you know, for Kenny's sake, I can understand his frustration. It was a little bit weird to see how, like, much he was airing it on television, because this year, like, obviously he was very frustrated with the Dean Wilson situation earlier this year. They have some behind the scenes footage of that, and Kenny swearing and yelling at Dino and stuff, but then on the podium was very like, you know, we'll move on, it happens, you know, this only was a minor setback, we'll continue on. But this one was like full-blown, like, no holds barred. He was very upset with the move from Cooper on the podium and said, you know, we're just going to fight that a little bit harder during practice during the weeks, just try a little bit harder so that we can play those games essentially and beat him for this championship. So I thought that was weird, because not weird that he was upset about it. I'm totally fine with him being upset about it, and I'll explain that in a second. But I thought it was weird, his reaction on the podium, because this year Kenny's been very, like, I guess, kind of a different Kenny than we've seen in the past. Like, he's not very reactionary to stuff. And this is a little bit of the old Kenny, but it's a different Kenny because I feel like this is like fired up Kenny, whereas in the past I felt like you could tell that, you know, a podium speech like that was a little bit of like a breakdown for him, like he was struggling. But this one to me doesn't seem like he's struggling. This one seems like he's pissed off, which is something that I can't remember too often out of Kenny over his career. So it was interesting to say the least. And then Webb in the post-race press conference, someone asked him and said, you know, hey, did you happen to hear Roxcen on the podium, what he had to say, and what do you think about his opinion on that situation? And Webb said, yeah, after the race, he came up to me and he was running his mouth, and I wasn't really sure what about because I thought it was just a good racing move. And then he said maybe the phrase, it's going to be the storyline of the season if it comes down to those two. He said the phrase, Kenny has been focusing on himself this year, and clearly he just showed how much he's focusing on himself with, like, you know, the assumed air quotes around the focusing on himself part there. So, you know, Webb kind of basically saying, yeah, it looks like Kenny's kind of more worried about me than he is worried about himself, which, you know, to Cooper makes it seem like I'm in his head. And this is exactly what Cooper does. He loves the mind games. He's known for sitting on the start gate and yelling obscenities and you know, getting mad and, you know, saying like, let's go, but, you know, with more colorful language on the start gate. And it's usually to try to psych those guys out. Now, whether it does or does not, I mean, I honestly doubt it, but it's what Webb does. He tries to play these mind games and tries to, you know, get in their heads with little nuggets here and there. And this was just an on-track move that, for the most part, was a fair, straight-up racing move. And now you have Ken Roxcen coming back with a brash response like that. So here's what I think about it is this is great. Like, honestly, fans being upset about any of this to me sucks, because all we complain about nonstop as fans of the sport is, gosh, I wish these guys weren't such robots and reading off their Monster Energy Pro Circuit, you know, Kawasaki's Thor, Parts Unlimited, Dunlop, sponsor reel, and give us real thoughts. And Kenny this year has, I think, not given us real thoughts on everything. He's been, you know, pretty open, like the Red Cross flag thing. He was like, I thought it was total BS, and I like that. You know, not that, you know, he thought it was total BS. I just like that he's given real thoughts. And then the Dean Wilson thing, he's a little bit more contrite, but sometimes to a public display, that's the way you present yourself. I liked that he was fiery about this because it's a real opinion. He was upset that Webb took him high in the corner. It cost maybe both of them a chance to win the race. Like, you could argue easily that Tomac would have just passed both of them anyway and won it. I totally get that, but maybe those two start out front and it's a little bit different of a storyline. Maybe Tomac doesn't get right in the lead and open a gap. You know, there's so many different, you know, narratives you can form from that, and we'll play what ifs all day long with that. But, you know, I just think that, like, it was good to see that Kenny does have, like, this real fire and desire, because he didn't just lay over for that. He wasn't just like, oh, it's racing, it's whatever, we'll move on. It's like, he's pissed, and Cooper's the reason he's pissed, and now he's going to go train that extra bit harder, you know, think about it a little bit more. And for our sake as fans, I hope that this just means that he comes out even more fired up at the next couple rounds, because I think the momentum needs to shift a little bit. I feel like it's been going in Cooper's way for the last 4 rounds, basically, 3 rounds, I guess, at this point. You know, Kenny swept Indy, got a nice lead, kind of built up on everybody, but then Coop has just chipped it away. He won both Orlandos. Now he finished second here, and Kenny finished fourth. And, yeah, points gap is now 2 between those two at the front with 8 to go. And, boy, if this is the you know, sentiments that they're going to share towards each other for the rest of the season, I think we're going to have a pretty good championship fight to watch. And it might be getting even a little bit more interesting. Now, I'll just preface this with personally saying I still believe Eli Tomac is out of this championship. But I knew that the second he won this race that the Eli Tomac fans would come back in full force, and they absolutely have. There's a lot of people that last week were very quiet on the old Twitter or basically anywhere, and now are very loud about Eli Tomac's chances to still win this championship. And he looked great, you know, winning the Daytona Supercross. It's what Eli does. He's won it 5 times. I thought he looked very good in the main event and pretty good all day long, except for the heat race. The heat race was a bit of a disaster. So, I mean, I guess, you know, you want to just erase that from your memory bank a little bit and say Eli Tomac had a great overall day. I think he did. And this win, I think, does at least give you the option to say, like, well, he's still close. But is he in it? I don't know. You know, like, no one's ever come from a deficit of 31 points. to win a championship, which Eli Tomac was at one point. Now he's 24 points down, so he just chunked a lot away, but he chunked a lot away on Kenny and only gained 3 on Cooper, who was able to sneak by Plessinger late there. And my problem with it is if he just had to catch Kenny or if he just had to catch Cooper, maybe I could see it, because it's very likely that, one of those guys throughout the rest of the season has a bad race, a crash, something that throws the wrench in the plans a little bit more and has a little bit more, oomph to it. And Eli Tomac, if he goes on a little bit of a stretch here, wins, 3 of the next 5 or something like that, I could easily see him catching one of those guys. But he has to catch both of them, and this year has maybe been the best version of both of them, or at least pretty close to. Like, I would say 2019 Webb is still the best Webb we've seen, but he's definitely working his way back up to that level, like, quite well. And I think that this is by far the best Kenny we've seen since at least 2017, if not ever, on a Honda. So it's not just going to be a walk in the park, and he's got to pass 2 guys to win this championship. So that's why I'm still a little bit out on Eli's chances for this title. But like I said, he's there. Like, there is a talking point to bring up. He's 24 points down the championship. He's 22 back of Webb. If he goes on a little bit of a tear here, then we can start talking about it. Like, if we get to round 13 of the series and he's within like 15 points of the lead, I will consider saying he's close enough to make it happen. But even that would be a stretch, because that would still be 4 rounds of racing left to go. 13, 14, well, that'd be 5 rounds if we're at round 13 specifically, but like, let's say past round 13, he's only 15 back. We got 4 rounds left. If he wins all of them, he'll only lose the championship by 3 points if the guy in the lead at the point in time finishes second at all of them. So, like, right now, if Eli Tomac wins out, he's the champion, but there's almost 0 chance he wins out, especially with the way he's looked this year. And personally speaking, like, and I'm not trying to, like, crap on Eli. Like, I think he had a great day. I think his win was perfectly valid. I just didn't think it was like a complete walk in the park as a couple people are making it seem. That's just my opinion. I think, like, some people were saying, like, he smoked him as if he won by 30 seconds. But, in the end, he only beat the top 5 by 10 seconds. Malcolm Stewart finished 5th in the race, and Malcolm Stewart was 10 seconds back. Now, of course, Eli Tomac probably managed it a little bit on the last lap of the race. He probably slowed down a little bit, but it still wasn't like he just completely destroyed those guys. They were close, and that was maybe the closest anybody's ever really been, aside from Roxcen last year, to actually just straight up being on Tomac's pace at Daytona. So I don't want to draw like a instant conclusion that Tomac is fixed and that's the old Tomac that's back and we're ready to go based off of Daytona. If he goes out and does this exact same thing this weekend in Arlington for the first Arlington, then I'll be like, okay, here we go. Like, this is it now. Like, he's gonna either go on this tear and win a bunch of races and make this championship interesting, or what everybody predicted last week when they said Eli Tomac's already out of this championship will be right. That's just my opinion. You can take it or leave it, but that's the way I feel about it. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for it. Like, as a fan, I think that this championship is about in the perfect scenario for the way things could work out, because Eli Tomac is probably the fastest rider on the track every week when his mind is straight and good to go. But he has to win a lot of races to win this championship, and Webb and Kenny are going to be playing these games with each other, these, I don't know, mind games, but maybe they're going to be on-track games now because of the incident from this weekend. And suddenly, before you know it, like, maybe Eli Tomac is right into this because those two have taken each other out of the championship race in a sense where they're too focused on each other. They're not thinking about points and the title anymore. They're thinking about each other, and that would be obviously drastically benefit Tomac. So I, as a fan, am very excited to see this championship moving forward because I think it's in maybe the best position it could be. Maybe Eli being a little bit closer would be ideal, but still, this is going to make an interesting swing down the stretch here as we move into the back half of the season with 8 rounds to go. Multitude of different ways that this championship could go, I feel like. So I'm excited to see it, and definitely going to be interested to watch. 250 class, I'm sorry I didn't talk enough about the 450 class. Like, I feel like I could have talked about Malcolm Stewart's been incredibly consistent this year, got another top 5. Marvin Musquin, bike issue, that was a bit of a bummer. Feel like I never saw Justin Barcia all day. Plessinger maybe had the ride of his career so far. Like maybe was on the verge of winning the Daytona Supercross, but then made a mistake there on the last straightaway and coughed up second. But still first career podium, obviously emotional podium interview. I love AP, dude. Such raw, real emotions. But obviously, this championship fight's becoming so interesting that it sucks that like we're not going to talk about those guys that much. But man, they all rode, I thought, pretty well on the weekend, and good to see that kind of turnaround. So hopefully continues for them into Arlington. But let's talk about this 250 class because, oh boy, do we have some interesting things to talk about in this championship. So first of all, just big congratulations, a nice golf clap, big round of applause, whatever you want to call it, for Cameron Mcadoo picking up his first career Supercross win. This was a guy that, he rode for Geico Honda on and off for a little bit. He had, fill-in rides here and there. And then he was left without a ride going into the 2019 Nationals and was apparently Christian Craig's bus driver, the RV that Christian Craig has. So he was driving it from round to round and was living in it or living in Christian's house or something like that. Picks up a fill-in ride with Choi Lee Designs KTM and, rides the rest of the outdoors there. Shows pretty well, but apparently didn't show enough to like pique the interest of like everybody just at that point. And I believe I have this all lined up correctly. I might be 1 year ahead of myself here, but I'm pretty sure at the end of that summer he wasn't going to have a ride lined up, so he rode a Club MX Yamaha at Geneva. Now I'm thinking about this. I think this was 2018 before the 2019 season, but regardless of which, like, this is the crazy scenario that he's had. He's not been like factory dude from the get-go. He started his career on the Moto Concepts team and then got the Geico fill-in. Then he rode for Choi Lee Designs KTM. Now he's been riding for Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki these last couple years. And he was, I think in a lot of people's opinions, a guy that was going to kind of just be a number 2 or number 3 rider in the 250 class for his career. And I don't think that that's like trying to be mean about it. I think that would be someone that you can look back on their career and be like, wow, they had a great career. They rode at all these teams and they were, competitive. They got him on the podium a couple times, just never worked out, obviously. But no, Mcadoo just kept at it, kept getting better, kept getting stronger. And now look at what he has to show for it. He is a race winner in Supercross and looked great all day long. Looked like he almost didn't put a foot wrong most of the day. He was still a little bit of his usual, the Lawrence brothers, I should say, call him whackers because I guess he rides a little bit crazy. And so some people even call him Cameron Wackadoo instead of Mcadoo. Obviously, there's the Ram It moniker, I guess is the right name for it. But I'm really happy for him because the career that he's had, the up and down roads that he's had to travel and stuff like that to get to this point in the first place is kind of an incredible story. But now the fact that he's also a race winner puts icing on the cake. And hey, he's a championship leader. He's got a nice little, cushion in the championship. It's not huge, but takes it over because Justin Cooper couldn't quite get up on the podium. He didn't get a single good start all day long, even though they red flagged the heat race and restarted it, and he still got a bad start 2 times in the heat race and then coupled it up with a bad start in the main event. Like I don't know what he was doing wrong. Maybe the start straight is too short to show the star Yamaha power or something like that, but not a good day of starts for Justin Cooper. Still got 4th in the end. Almost stole 3rd away at the end there from Pierce Brown. But how about Pierce Brown and Styles Robertson? 2 guys that just landed on their first podium of their career at Daytona and, got up there with Cameron Mcadoo. Like, who in the second round of 250 West action had Cameron Mcadoo winning from Styles Robertson and Pierce Brown before the season started? Nobody. I don't think anybody would have told you that was even kind of on the radar. I mean, Pierce Brown didn't even race the opener. Robertson, I guess you could say, like, rookies, sometimes they come in and show well, but I don't know if you would have put him second place finisher and leading over half of the Daytona Supercross on your list. And then, like I said, Mcadoo, I'm happy for him. And I think that some people coming into the season looked at him as a guy that could win races. I personally did not, but obviously I've been dead wrong many times before and probably will be dead wrong many times after this. And I'm happy to be proven dead wrong. Mcadoo has been great this year and second to start the season, now wins the Daytona Supercross and takes the points lead into Arlington with him. I think that's freaking awesome. So what a podium. Robertson leading half of the race was amazing. Like, for a little bit there, it looked like he could straight up just win the Daytona Supercross in his second Supercross start ever, which would have been mind-boggling stuff. But then he says he didn't even get tired. He just said he got like a little bit in his own head where he got to a point where he's like, holy crap, I'm leading the Daytona Supercross. And I think anybody would kind of crumble at least a little bit in that moment if they suddenly were in the race lead and realized that and realized the time was clicking down. Going to get the nerves going a little bit. So Mcadoo caught him and eventually made a fairly easy pass for the lead and went on to win the race. But if your style is, you got to be happy with second. I mean, second Supercross of your career, and you're going to finish second at the Daytona Supercross. Like, of course you're going to be smiling ear to ear, even if you may have lost a win right there. So great ride for him. Pierce Brown, first ride back. I mean, rode to the third place finish. It wasn't like he started third and finished third, like started sixth or something, kind of with Cooper a little bit and pulled away from him a little bit and then fell back to him towards the end, but still held him off. And yeah, great ride for him. Cooper finishes up in fourth. My heartbreak of the race is Alex Martin. And I know he had the concussion 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure he's probably a little bit loopy and is trying to just get his mind kind of set back in stone a little bit. I watched his Troll Train vlogs, and it seems like he was still a little bit not 100% coming into this round. He also has a leg injury, it sounds like, from Mcadoo running over him at the Orlando Supercross, so that's another thing he's dealing with. But what I was bummed about is Alex Martin, this is like his 10th, 11th year in the 250 class, and definitely been overshadowed by his brother, but he's had the speed on many occasions to win a Supercross, just never been in the right place at the right time, and this was probably the lone chance that he's been in the right place at the wrong time. Like, he was in a spot where, I mean, all he had to do was catch and pass Styles Robertson to win the Daytona Supercross, and Alex Martin at 100% probably does that. Straight up, like, I think that he's maybe not as good as Mcadoo looked all day, but he started ahead of him enough that I felt like if he just goes and gets Robertson early in the main event, he wins the race. And started second, was close to Robertson for a little bit, and I thought he was going to close on him, and then faded into oblivion. And I think, probably the concussion hurt a little bit for that, and maybe the leg injury a little bit as well. But I just felt bad because I was like, dang it, dude. Like, that is a prime opportunity for him to win his first Supercross that just slipped through his grasps. And I was bummed. Ended up finishing, I think, 7th or 8th or something like that because, he hit the fade button pretty hard. But, yeah, it was just like, darn, man, that would have been awesome for Troll Train. So, yeah, a little bit bummed about that. I guess Jordan Smith crashed in practice and got 20 stitches in his butt. So that was not fun for Jordan. I can't imagine doing the Daytona Supercross with 20 stitches in your butt feels very good. But I guess he's probably going to be okay moving forward. It's just that he was probably a little bit over it late in the race with his butt not feeling the best. And obviously he's coming off with the thumb injury, and he crashed 2 weeks ago in Orlando and hit the ground pretty good there. So he wasn't 100% and didn't look 100%, but still rode okay. And then by far, I would say my shock of the season so far. Clever word use there, because Cody Shock is incredible, dude. Cody Shock was a guy that basically couldn't make a main event last year. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be mean. I love the dude. Like, I've talked to him quite a bit. I've interviewed him a bunch. I've hung out with him at the tracks before and stuff like that. He's really, really nice kid, down to earth and stuff like that. But last year, he was not doing very well when it came to actually trying to qualify for main events. Eventually did in the Salt Lake City swing. But just such a different rider this year, and kind of proving he's the number one guy between himself and Carson Mumford on that FXR Chaparral Honda team. Like, he has been solid as a rock through 2 rounds, 12-9, and was running in 3rd place at the Daytona freaking Supercross for like over half of the race, and only lost it with about like 4 minutes to go because he got tired. Because who wouldn't, after basically not making main events the year before and coming full-blown like privateer effort into the season before he got picked up by this team last year, wouldn't be like pumped up and probably losing their mind by running 3rd that late in the race at Daytona? I know I would, so I don't blame him one bit for fading there. The fact that he was running that well, that he passed Alex Martin and was holding on to that spot as well as he was, I think proved to a lot of people the talent that guy possesses. And I was just so proud of him, so happy for him. Like I said, kind of like a feel-good story of a guy that, like, you don't hear much about him because he came in flying under the radar. He wasn't like a multi-time Loretta's champion that got onto a team or something like that. He's a kid from Delaware that's pursuing a dream, and dude, the kid's rocking it. So I'm super happy for him, that 9th place finish. I think when he looks at it on paper, he's going to be like, oh, could have been so much better. But, dude, running 3rd in the race for as long as you did, hats off. That was an incredible ride out of someone I personally would not have expected it from, but I'm so happy to see it done. And like I said, he is my shock of the season. So moving forward in this 250 championship, I don't know where I sit with it, because I felt like with the 250 championship on the East Coast, I kind of figured, it's going to come down to Faulkner and maybe Craig, maybe Lawrence, and then Faulkner got hurt and Lawrence crashed, and Craig has been up and down, and then Nichols kind of shined through at the 3rd round and then took the series by storm after that. So I'm not even going to rule it out that we're going to see someone who has just been kind of close these last couple rounds shine through at the 3rd round. I don't know, yeah, I really don't even know who I could pick out of that group that could do it. I guess maybe Jordan Smith could come out and win the 3rd round, and it would be that would be a bit of a shock. So you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just going to come down to Mcadoo and Cooper, and everybody else is going to have to funnel in and try to pick up a win or a podium here and there. Because through 2 rounds so far, I would say that those two look like the guys. Obviously, Mcadoo going 2-1 clearly is a guy that's going to take this title deep if he rides like that all year long. And Cooper has been in these fights before, and while his start sucked at Daytona, his riding wasn't all that bad. He just didn't get a good start to show that he can run the front pace. And, I think moving into Arlington this weekend, we're probably going to see Cooper fight back and maybe go out and win, and Mcadoo is probably going to be right up there as well. So maybe it's already down to a 2-horse race. I hate to say that this early in the season, but that is the 2 guys I've picked out so far that seem like they're the ones actually getting things done. But like I said, I also would not be surprised to see someone else just come flying into the mix out of nowhere and make things interesting. So yeah, very excited about both these championships, because I think we actually do have real straight up title fights in both of them. It doesn't seem like there is a runaway favorite in the 250 West or 450 classes right now. And heading into this triple header, whatever you want to call it, at Arlington, dude, this is turning into quite the season. So happy for it. Happy that we're getting back to a little bit of normality with everything, and the Supercross season is halfway done, and we are having some good racing with it. So thanks everybody for stopping by and watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry for the terrible riding again, but appreciate it as always, you guys stopping by and watching another video here on Start Your Systems. Get down in the comment section below. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.